speaker is Professor Özcan, Assistant Professor in Information Systems at Demirors Technical University in Turkey. Please, Professor Özcan, can you start?
Thank you, Sherry. I'm going to share my screen and initiate the presentation. Okay, so I guess you can see it, right?
Yeah, yes. Thank you.
Perfect. Welcome everyone. I am Özcan, and the authors of the conference knows me because I have been sending several emails beginning of March. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank them for their collaboration and also interest in this process. I work as an assistant professor at the Graduate School of Informatics at Demirors Technical University, and today I am going to present you our work on the challenges and working solutions in Agile adaptation, and our experiences from the industry. And this study is co-authored by Onur Demirors from İzmir Institute of Technology and Fergal Caffery from Dundalk Institute of Technology, Ireland. And I would like to start my presentation with the brief description of Agile software development. So Agile is, most of you know, is one of the most important paradigms that radically change how software is developed. So Agile methods are characterized with providing fast feedback, favoring adaptive and exploratory practices, self-organizing teams, collaboration among team members, and high communication channels, and delivering working software to customers through short and time-boxed iterations to get fast feedback from them, minimizing bureaucracy, and also balancing upfront work and just-in-time work, and also adopting practices such as automated unit tests and continuous integration to be able to embrace change throughout the software development lifecycle. Due to very promising results of the organizations which adopt Agile methods, several demands arose from other organizations to implement Agile methods, and adopting Agile has become one of the main concerns of organizations. So we started to get questions like how far they are to be Agile, these organizations, and how can they become more Agile. And in addition to this, we experienced cases like where Agile mindset and practices were misinterpreted. So I can say that most people consider Agile to be a set of practices which they blindly follow, such as daily stand-up meetings, retrospective meetings, or burn-down charts, without a focus on true value of principles and the values given in the Agile manifesto. But becoming Agile requires significant changes on the way we perform, do our business. So I would like to quote here from John Hughes, who is a strategist and Agile coach. He says that a lot of people are still trying to do Agile instead of becoming Agile. It's not about getting trained or buying a fancy new board. It is about changing the way you think, basically. All right. And we also started to experience cases like Agile was used as an excuse for being undisciplined. This is basically used, some cases you consider themselves doing Agile just because maybe developing less documentation. So this might be an indication of being undisciplined, unlike the main idea. And there's a fundamental need for organizations to assist them in adopting Agile methods and practices and to guide them for improving their Agile capability. And as a solution, we developed an agility assessment reference model, which is called Agility Mold. And the structure of this model is developed based on the meta model of ISO IEC 15504 process assessment framework. And the purpose of that is to create a common basis for performing an assessment and also presenting the result of the assessment using a common rating scale. And the model we developed is independent of any specific Agile model, so you can be adapting Scrum or Extreme Programming or any other models, so you can basically use Agility Mode, and it can be applicable independent of any domain. And if we briefly look at the structure of the model, it consists of two dimensions. In the first dimension, which is the aspect dimension, we reflect integrated Agile processes and practices. We have exploration, construction, transition, and management aspects at this level, and these aspects and practices are developed based considering the Agile practices and processes and combined using several different Agile methods. And at the agility dimension level, we define how organizations gain their agility. And from level 0 to level 3, we defined some specific and measurable phases. And these levels were defined based on Agile Manifesto and principles. And if we briefly look at these levels, at the not implemented level, Agile practices either are not achieved or partially achieved. And at the second level, which is ad hoc level, this is the first level basically, practices are achieved, but there are also transitions attempts to Agile. However, there are inconsistencies on implementing Agile practices and also adapting these Agile values. And at the lean level, iterative and incremental development become the core of the development process, and effective communication channels are being implemented. Balance is achieved between the upfront work and adaptive work, and minimum ceremony is applied. And at the top level, which is effective, Agile engineering methods and practices such as continuous integration, deployment, or DevOps are adopted, and tools are effectively used, and continuous learning and improvement is the core of the organization or the project. So I will unfortunately not be able to provide more details about the model. However, we published our work in the Computer Standards and Interfaces Journal, and I will be happy to share this work with you if you are interested in reading about the model. Now I will continue with the case study and the focus of this presentation. So we performed a multiple case study using 8 cases in 8 different organizations. And the purpose was observing the applicability of agility mode for the identification of agility gaps in software projects and also identifying the strengths and weaknesses of the model. So basically the results of these 8 multiple case studies were published in this journal. And as in this presentation, I am going to present the results from a different perspective. And we looked at the results or the data we obtained from these 8 organizations and aimed to reveal the Agile adoption challenges and the lessons learned from the most successful cases. And among 8 cases, 2 cases had achieved the highest agility levels, which are case G and case C. Sorry. Okay. So I will provide a brief description of these cases. So case G is an e-government project, and it provides solutions to 40 foundations which are located in different cities of Turkey. and with approximately 25 million Turkish citizens. And there are 21 employees divided into 4 teams, which report to a project manager and an assistant project manager. And in KC, it's a digital advertisement sharing platform project. It is currently in use, and new versions of the product are being deployed continuously. And the main purpose of the project is to ensure security of the advertisements and to deliver harmless and focused advertisements to end users. And project includes 22 employees. And Agile is being implemented in those organizations more than 3 to 4 years. And now I am going to describe the challenges that they face during Agile adaptation and then the working solutions that they have found. So, as you may know, one of the critical success factors in Agile software development is the level of interaction between the software development team and the customers. In KSG, the product owner, who is the main contact point to their customers, lives in the United States, while the rest of the team reside in Turkey. And in this case, contacting with the product owner and therefore with the customer was quite difficult for them. And however, they have solved this issue by ensuring that the product owner communicates with the program managers regularly, 3 to 5 times in a week, over teleconferencing, despite the 8 hours difference. And product owner does not only communicate with the product managers, but also with the Scrum Master in some cases and developers when further clarification is required for backlog items. And they achieve somehow ensuring this communication, which I will actually explain in a few slides. Well, varying levels of granularity of user stories is another difficulty in Agile software development. So, the reason for that is that coarsely granulated user stories can be the source of the difficulties and the problems in the estimation process. So we may have some very large user stories and we may have very small ones. So KC has developed a solution for this. They basically use 2 approaches to decide on the optimum granularity level for user stories. The first one is story point estimation. A user story, they decided that a user story cannot be included in a sprint if its size is above a threshold. So the threshold was 20 story points for KC project. And another one was that acceptance criteria. So they mentioned that if they can define a measurable acceptance criteria for a specific user story, then this is a good indicator of a well-defined and low-level granularity for a user story. So we suggest you use both story point estimation and acceptance criteria together to ensure a standard level of granularity in user stories. And so another important point is that ensuring the balance between the upcoming items and outgoing items in a software development process so that the work can be done without interruption. And so we call this as growth of product backlog as a problem in constant pace. So in one of the projects, the product backlog had not grown in a constant pace. And this issue actually, when investigated, it was figured that it was due to a communication problem among the product owner and the program managers. So when once they sensed that the reason for that problem might be a communication, they established a communication matrix that should be updated whenever the program owner and the program managers communicated with each other. And then it was shown that there is a strong correlation between the growth of the product backlog and the numbers in the communication matrix. So the communication matrix actually is not a direct solution for this challenge, but it is a very effective tool to observe the communication problems and has a strong effect on the growth of the product backlog. And another solution was conducting regular product backlog grooming meetings. And in these meetings, all team members are involved, including Scrum Master, development team members, and also the product owner itself, of course. So when it becomes a regular meeting and even maybe 2 hour time in a week, makes a big difference in solving such significant problem. And another issue was the non-functional characteristic of the retrospective meeting. So I mean that by non-functional term, useless meetings. So in these meetings, we evaluate the team, actually evaluate the process of itself. So they discuss what could be done better and what should be changed in terms of processes and practices, software development processes and practices. However, these retrospective meetings can easily turn into useless meetings if no solutions are developed out of these meetings. So the solution developed by one of these organizations is that after some issues discussed in these meetings, the Scrum Master open an action item for the issues and assign the items to team members using a specific tool. And they specify a team quality criteria based on the percentage of the closed retrospective issues in JIRA. And also, no new items can be suggested in these meetings unless all of the previous issues or the solutions suggested are closed.
Professor, you don't have time, maybe 2 minutes.
Okay, so I will quickly try to finish. So another problem was the motivation of the development team members, basically the test team members, and effects of their motivation in software quality. So the main problem was that the actually very successful, experienced, and talented developers were hired for a specific job. However, they were assigned to very basic testing roles like black box manual testing. So this actually caused a decrease in their motivation. So as a solution, they decided on quitting the manual testing and abolished the test team altogether. So they were all testers were asked to code the automated unit tests, and by this way, they ensured increasing the quality of the product and as well as the improved collaborative work and adopted shared responsibility by eliminating the manual testing. So another issue was ability to managing technical debt, and this actually again solved using assigning the responsibility of recovery from technical debt to the person who created it, and also following the progress of such recoveries with a tracking system as well. So there are also unresolved challenges, but just maybe I will name them. Identification of the dependencies among design elements for change management, and also the efficiency of the code comments, which they indicated that there is a need for a mechanism to evaluate efficiency of code comments to increase the clarity of the code especially at the maintenance phase of a software project. So thank you very much. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Özcan. You have two questions.
Yes.
The first one is from Vali Tuasi. Thank you for the interesting talk. How did the team solve the challenge of granularity, large user stories, larger than 20 story points? Do they divide the story to the smaller ones? What is the process?
The team actually starts with larger levels of, let's say, requirements at this stage, and the larger ones called epics. And these epics then are divided into smaller ones, user stories. But when you try to estimate a user stories, in some cases you have to look at for a more detailed concepts for a specific user story. Then you figure out that you have to get smaller chunks of it, and then you use that process, and no user stories are included in the product backlog or the Scrum backlog, which is higher than 20 story points. So you can actually define your own level for your project. It can be, I don't know, maybe 13 or maybe 15, depending on what an abstraction level is for you.
Okay. Actually, the rest of the question, do the teams record the actual time taken to develop the user stories or not?
No, they were not recording the actual time. I mean, in Agile development, it is not very common recording to the actual efforts required or spent for developing a user story, but they do story point estimation and also poker planning type estimation methods. However, they aim to actually develop as much as possible user stories in a given time by their experiences, based on their experiences.
Thank you. And the last question is, would you be able to share with us the main drawbacks of your proposed Agile model?
Yes, of course. I will be happy to share it with you. I will send the main journal paper that we described in detail. So I can share the model itself, of course.
Okay. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, everybody.